Hi everyone, welcome in. Today we are chatting about my most anticipated reads of 2026, the books that I am most excited to get into this year. And I've got this broken down into three categories: new releases, books that have been on my to-read list forever, and books that have been recommended to me by friends that I am desperate to be able to discuss with them. So I need to get on it and read the dang books. So three categories, and I'm going to do three books in each of them. I've really condensed this list. I have so many books that I'm excited to read this year, and I needed to keep this video to somewhat a reasonable length. So if you're curious about the rest of what I'm most excited to read this year and kind of seeing a bigger picture, a more complete picture of my most anticipated reads, I use the Story Graph, which is an alternative to Goodreads, and you're welcome to follow me on there. And I have a subset of my to-read list that's marked as most excited, and you can filter by that and see kind of the bigger picture if you want to there. But today I'm keeping it to three categories, three books in each category, and we're going to go ahead and kick things off with the new releases that I'm most excited for. Now, ironically, my first two new releases that I'm talking to you about actually have already released. One of them came out in 2025 and one came out in January of 2026. I just don't have my hands on them yet because I'm waiting for my library holds to be available. So they're still most anticipated reads for me in 2026, even though they've already released. So the first of these is The Strength of the Few by James Islington. This is the sequel to The Will of the Many, which I read in the back half of last year. It was one of my top books for 2025. I'll link that video below if you want to see all of my top books for the year. But I absolutely love this book, and I am so curious to see how he's going to progress this story. I think it's going to be fascinating to see where it heads from here. And I have been avoiding reviews and thoughts on this one like the plague because it's everywhere online. And I'm just so ready. I'm very impatiently waiting for my library hold to be available on this one. So that's probably my most anticipated read, honestly, of the whole entire year. I cannot wait. The second new release that's in this category came out in January 2026. I'm still waiting on my library hold for this one as well, and that's The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. I saw Jamie Falk review this, and she loved it, and she likened it to A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang, which was also one of my top books for 2025. I adored that book. It absolutely ripped my heart out and stomped all over it. And I am ready for some more heartbreak, some more longing, some more devastation. This one just sounds really interesting. And I don't know, I'm just really ready for something like this. And she totally sold me when she compared it to one of my favorite books of last year. And then number three, this one doesn't even have a release date yet. This is Burn of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the fourth and final book in the Kindred's Curse saga, and I flew through the first three books. I will say I don't like our main character, DM, I think is her name, in this series. She drives me bonkers, but I like all the other characters and the plot and the world so much that I'm willing to overlook her, basically completely. So I cannot wait. I am on the edge of my seat waiting to see what's going to happen, how this author is going to wrap this series up. And I am so eager. And it's been a long time. I think I read these 2 years ago, maybe even now. And I am so ready. So I'm eagerly waiting for a release date, and I will be picking this one up immediately when it comes out. There are so many more new releases that I'm excited for this year. But again, trying to keep this list relatively short for you all today. So we're going to leave it there for new releases, and we're going to move on to the 3 books that have been on my TBR a long time that I'm finally going to get around to this year. I don't know what it is about myself, but sometimes I will have books on my to read list that I am like so excited to read, and I almost wait on them on purpose because I'm trying to save them for a time when I like really need an engaging book, and that's absolutely the case with this first one, Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the first book in the second arc of the Red Rising series. So the Red Rising series is in 2 arcs. The first arc is 3 books, and the second arc is a 4-book series. I read the first 3 books a few years ago, and I loved it. It's still to this day one of my favorite series I've ever read, and I am so excited to read this second arc. The reason that this is now on my list, even though I've been kind of like saving it for a rainy day, so to speak, the reason I'm going to definitely jump in this year is because the 4th and final book in Arc 2 is releasing in 2026. So I want to catch up, and I want to be done with everything that already exists, the 3 books that are already out in Arc 2, before that last one comes out. I adore this series so much, and this is like, gosh, I just can't wait. I can't wait to continue on in here. I will say I love the audiobooks for this series. They're like a full cast of characters, and they have like the sound effects and stuff. So highly recommend if you want to get into Red Rising to do the audiobooks, and I will be doing the audiobooks for Arc 2 as well. And I can't wait to hear all my favorite characters again and new characters in those familiar voices. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Number 2 in this category is Recursion by Blake Crouch. I have been in a sci-fi mood lately. Last year I read a lot of sci-fi and really connected with it and loved it in a way that in the past I haven't always. So I want to kind of keep that going, and I haven't read any books by Blake Crouch. I know he is infamous in the sci-fi space, and so I want to dive into his books, and I own a copy of Recursion already, so I'll be starting there. And I also, for some reason, I'm like so sucked in by the like bright yellow cover with the black contrast. I like can't stop staring at it for some reason. So it's also just like really calling my name from my bookshelf. So Recursion by Blake Crouch is going to be kind of my next foray into the sci-fi space, and I'm really excited to pick that one up. And book 3 in this category of ones that have been sitting on my TBR for a while that I just haven't tackled is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I'm not sure how you pronounce this author's name. I actually have no memory whatsoever of how this book landed on my TBR in the first place, but every time I reread the synopsis, I am sucked back in, and I really don't want this one to fall off my radar as it has for years now. In favor of books that are like popular online or new releases, flashy stuff like that. So I'm just trying to really plant this one in my brain as something that always calls to me every time I read the synopsis, and then for some reason I keep forgetting about it. So it's about a boy who's obsessed with like an ancient mythological city. There's some talk of warriors, a goddess in his dreams. I don't know, but every time I read the synopsis, I'm immediately entranced by it again. So it sounds fascinating. It's a duology, so if I love it, I can continue without a huge commitment of like many books in a series. So I'm really excited about that one, and I will report back because I don't hear a lot about this one, and I have no clue where this recommendation came from in the first place or how I found it, but I really want to remember this year to read it for sure. And again, wow, I have a massive list of books that have been on my TBR for a long time, both my physical TBR on my shelves, but also just digitally that I don't own yet, that I wish I have already read, but in the interest of simplifying, I'm going to leave it here for now with those three, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the last category here, which are books that were recommended to me by people in my like real life, and I can't wait to discuss them with people. So first in this category is Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. It's actually, you can probably see it in the background there, the beautiful sprayed edges. I am borrowing a copy of this from a friend, and I need to A, get it back to her, but also I really desperately want to discuss this with her and with so many other friends in my life who've already read it. I'm behind on this one. This was one of the most anticipated releases for a lot of people, I think, last year, and it's just been like sitting there for me, and I don't know why. I think it's partly because it's chunky, it's long, and I know R.F. Kuang's writing is very intellectual, and so I think I'm just struggling to get started with it, but I'm committing here now. I'm reading it this year, I'm getting that book back to my friend, and I'm gonna have some good conversations with people in my life about it. So really excited to read that one, but I just need to like break it open and just go for it at some point here. Okay, the next one in this category is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I read her book, Good Spirits, her holiday book, over the holidays in 2025, and I really, really loved it. I loved the writing, I loved the characters, I loved the plot, and I was talking about it with one of my coworkers, and she said, oh my gosh, you've got to read First Time Caller. I actually already own this book. I got it from Book of the Month one month, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I didn't really have the motivation for it. To be honest with you, I kind of got it because I really think the cover's cute. Her telling me that and having loved Good Spirits last year was the push I needed to pop this one to the top of my list for 2026, because I really want to talk about First Time Caller with her and just be able to connect on an author that we both really like. All right, and then last but not least here, book 3 in this category is The Names by Florence Knapp. This one I ironically actually lent to my sister-in-law, and she read it before I would have ever gotten to it. So I do own a copy of this one as well, also from Book of the Month. Not sponsored, I just like their books. But she told me that it executed on the like nominal determinism premise of this book perfectly, and that it was super devastating. And now, of course, I want to read it so that I can talk to her about it and talk to a couple other people in my life as well about it. This one's also kind of sitting there as one that I am like curious if I'm going to enjoy reading as a parent or if it's just going to make me really depressed, and therefore I'm curious if it's going to be one that I want to recommend to other people in my life who are parents and want to discuss it with them, or if it's going to be so sad that I don't want to do that. So she motivated me to bump this to the top of my list for this year as well, because I want to chat with her about the parts that she found surprising, but she didn't want to like ruin the surprise for me. So there you have it, 9 books that are sort of top of mind for me for 2026. I'm super excited to read all of these. They're definitely my most anticipated reads this year. I imagine that I'll get through these 9 books at least within the first half of the year this year, or at least I'm going to try to. So I might end up doing sort of a most anticipated for the second half of the year as well. Let me know if you'd like that and if you want to kind of follow along with the progression of what sounds exciting to me based on what I've been reading, because you know, my mind changes as I go, and what sounds exciting and energizing to me changes depending on what I've read recently. So happy to do that if you'd like, but I want to hear either way down in the comments what you are most excited to read this year. I just love hearing what people are kind of anticipating and what they're looking forward to most, especially for new releases. So let me know down in the comments, and thank you again so much for being here today, and I will see you next time.